All right, well, welcome everybody to a Full Circle Urban Forestry, introducing urban wood opportunities. Real quick before we get started, a huge thanks to our first tier sponsor, GeoComfort Geothermal. Help your clients live a zero energy life with GeoComfort Geothermal. Now they have integrated variable speed technology that can heat water and the space air through their new system, so make sure to check that out. And don't forget, there is a 30% tax credit available through 2021, up to 30%, and it goes down, so make sure to check that out. And then also our top tier sponsor for today, T-Stud. T-Stud is a simple concept, a thermally broken insulated wall stud assembly for use in exterior party walls, made right in Minnesota. T-Stud is a new building product that uses 2 machine stress rated MSR or 2 lumber members as an internal truss system and a frost-in-place closed cell foam. These extremely straight uniform studs make square construction a breeze. Conventional 2x6 lumber needs only a 5 to 12% call rate to avoid bowed, warped, and cupped boards. Using T-Studs, the call rate is virtually zero. Based on some initial testing, a 4 to 7 point drop in the HERS index rating, making it much more energy efficient than your overall 2x6 wall construction, and nearly as efficient for 1/4 of the cost as continuous insulation. The T-Stud wall assembly comprises everything you'd ever need to build an exterior wall and interior wall system: top plates, bottom plates, sill plates under the windows, all wall stubs and cripples, most headers used in construction today up to an 8-inch wide opening without snow load. And the T-Stud is constructed of 2 opposing wood members with a foam core, and the 2 wood members are held together with a proprietary truss, giving the T-Stud in its strength. Major sound improvements tested by the USG for their state-of-the-art soundproofing facility, sound transmission class of a 6+, and 90% improvement of noise control, even on the interior walls between bathrooms and laundry rooms. So make sure you head over to tstud.com today to learn a little more. Now, this course is approved for 1 hour in continuing education units, and we've got a LEED accredited professional homes here, certified green professional, AIBD, BPI NonWholeHouse, as well as AIA Health, Welfare, and Safety, which may make it applicable to your state-based design or contractor license. Today I'll be your moderator. My name is Brett Little, and I'm the executive director here at the nonprofit, the Green Home Institute. So the question we're going to be asking today is, can we use urban trees for our products? How do we do that, and what is it going to look like? And I'm really excited to introduce our speaker, Dwayne. He's owner of Woodward and is not only a supplier of urban wood, but precious and renewable resource. He's an industry advocate working to ensure urban trees continue to be put to their highest and best use. The mission led Dwayne to becoming a founding member of Wisconsin Urban Wood, a nonprofit focused on building networks of people and businesses that links material, streams, and availability of quality urban wood products and services across the state of Wisconsin. Dwayne also serves as an appointed member of the Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council. So with that, I will turn it over to Dwayne, and welcome.
Okay, thank you, Brad. Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here today. Again, yes, my name is Dwayne Sperber. I'm the owner of Woodward Urban Forest Products. I'm a supplier of urban lumber and products for typically high-volume commercial projects. And more specifically, I'm a supplier of Wisconsin Urban Wood. I'm guessing most of you are familiar with the phrase farm to table in reference to local food initiatives. I always picture a large wooden harvest table when I hear that phrase, and more specifically, what comes to mind is a table created with local, sustainably sourced urban wood. Today, I'd like to introduce you to urban wood and share the path that myself and others have experienced for well over a decade to identify, utilize this new wood resource. I believe this history is important to your understanding of how and why and it should be used in the built environment. Urban wood comes, let me see here. Urban wood comes from trees where we live. wood from trees not harvested for their timber value, but removed because of insect, disease, or circumstance. Examples of this wood primarily include logs from municipal or private landscape tree removals and trees killed by storm or pest outbreaks. Capturing and utilizing wood from the trees I've just described is certainly not a new idea. It's been happening forever. Recycling, too, has been around forever, and just like recycling gained renewed interest back in the 70s, it was around 15 years ago or so that interest grew in capturing and utilizing urban logs, and this was largely due to, obviously, the devastation caused by the emerald ash borer, and perhaps a growing interest in sustainable design and construction. This was a time when municipalities were considering, for example, their response plans to EAB, to the emerald ash borer. And I've always, some in the private sector, myself and others across the Midwest, were working on their own response. And I've always imagined someone sitting in the back of a meeting hall raised their hand and proclaimed, we should utilize all of these trees. Well, that declaration, it seems, became the mission statement for what has been called the urban wood movement. Now, soon after, both public and private utilization efforts and businesses emerged and were most effective, in my opinion, of demonstrating that boards could be made from urban logs. These early efforts committed little to no attention to introducing what was virtually a new wood product or to building a viable and sustainable urban wood industry. Now, no one can be critical of these early efforts, of these pioneers really, as it took nearly a decade to realize that urban wood utilization, to utilize the value of these trees, ash or otherwise, means more than sawmill demonstrations and filling warehouses full of urban lumber and declaring it for sale. Utilization means selling in a market that includes familiar and well-accepted materials options. Utilization means educating architects, designers, and contractors and consumers about the properties, sourcing, and quality of urban wood. After all, wood has been specified and sourced the same way for a very, very long time. These industries, those with control over materials, would not be influenced by private and public efforts, all playing by their own set of rules and definitions. So near the end of that decade, members of the urban wood movement realized that full circle urban forestry. They realized that urban wood utilization meant linking all of the urban wood market chains from arborist to architect. Well, those of us who hung in there, we found each other and came together as Wisconsin Urban Wood. Wisconsin Urban Wood is a member-based 501c3 nonprofit network of independent businesses and organizations that reclaim urban trees for their highest and best use. Our Wisconsin Urban Wood members represent every link in the urban wood market chain. The Wisconsin Urban Wood label, our brand, assures buyers that the wood originated in Wisconsin and passed through an entire supply chain of Wisconsin-based people and businesses to arrive as the final product. Stronger together, we're building consistent messaging, standards, and confidence related to urban forest products. And Wisconsin Urban Wood is becoming the standard for urban wood here in Wisconsin. And here is that market chain. This is this is all simple business 101, but it's important to note and remind everyone that one link does not exist without the other. How can I be a supplier of urban wood, for example, without ensuring my source of logs or those who will mill and dry it, build with it, and buy products made with it? So before we came together and linked to link and standardize this industry and this mission under a common brand and mission, independently, that was a lot for me to wake up to every morning. This works because increasing demand for urban wood products is just as important to the arborist as it is to the retailer of urban wood products. So here are our members. Arborist. Wisconsin urban wood arborists are required to be certified. Arborists, municipal or private, are on the front line of our industry. Entrusted with the health and care of our trees, they can now be dedicated to seeking higher use destinations for the logs and other debris from the trees they remove, rather than considering them a liability. Arborists are truly some of the best people I know, They would rather see a tree standing, and they work hard to keep it that way. But when a tree comes down, they want to see it utilized. And this is important. Wisconsin Urban Wood helps them achieve stewardship, efficiencies, and cost savings. And these arborists in return help maintain a confident chain of custody. As a supplier of Wisconsin Urban Wood, my biggest promise to my customers is that my products came from responsibly sourced logs. Municipalities, too, are joining this effort. Milwaukee's forestry crews now are committed to preserving quality and length of log at the time of removal when it's practical. And anything crews don't want to chip is loaded into 30 cubic yard containers that are located in city yards and sent to a sawmill rather than, for example, a landfill. Although the city pays to transport these containers and they receive no payment for the contents, they have cut their associated costs by 50%. In this container model, and here is just another image of a city crew. And this container model has worked well for private arborists as well that may have a large scale scheduled removal where containers can be orchestrated to be there on site and developers clearing land. And this could also be a benefit for utility removals. Sometimes the effort of getting a container, and this is key too, sometimes the effort and cost of getting a container helps keep costs neutral. In other words, it doesn't cost them any more, it doesn't cost them any less. Many times it will save them money. But there are other benefits, physical wear and tear on crews. We've heard reports, it certainly boosts morale and a sense of stewardship. So the city of Milwaukee's decision to reduce cost by 50% when they have the opportunity to perhaps get rid of it for free it is very significant because that city is a part of something much better. They're investing in a sense in their community and their economy and certainly their environment. Here's what we're after. And here's another model, a photo of a container method. This is at a City of Greenfield Municipal Yard. Here's what we're after. Urban logs, well, they're a bit ornery. They're not always straight, and they require a bit more consideration before and after they reach the mill. And they're not always 8 foot something long either. The upper right-hand corner, you'll see those 4 foot logs will mill them. And the mill that I'm associated with uses a traditional circle mill that's been modified to handle these shorter and less than straight logs. And just like a recycling center, these logs are sorted into good, bad, and ugly piles. And these photos demonstrate that it isn't always a pretty pile to begin with, but the value is there, the mission is there. A mill that accepts material like these are typical municipal loads. They must have their fingers in a lot of markets, fuel wood, mulch, pulp, and traditionally about 30-35% of municipal loads like this are worthy of milling or have millable logs. And our Wisconsin Urban Wood members operate sawmills and kilns and are committed to milling and drying these non-traditional logs to the same standards as traditionally sourced lumber. And the goal here in all of this is highest use. Although the meaning of highest use varies, and what I mean by that is there may be a considerable opportunity to capture some trees at the time of removal, but it may not be practical or even safe to capture those trees. So I want to carefully say that me personally, I'm not a tree hugger. We're not going to go chain ourselves to trees. It must be a viable effort. It must be an efficient effort, and it must be economically sound. That we are developing methods to do that. So that's what I mean by highest use. So when I say highest use here, it's about the lumber in this presentation. And this happens to be ash. Again, milled and kiln dried just like traditional lumber and at a respectable volume. And this pile would not exist and will not exist without changing processes and attitudes related to urban forest management and the sourcing of materials responsibly. Live edge slabs. They're not always available outside of the urban wood industry and are the result of, again, capturing and utilizing wood from trees otherwise wasted. And Wisconsin Urban Wood has manufacturers and makers of all kinds and sizes. And at the heart of the urban wood movement has always been the custom one-off maker. And this chair is absolutely beautiful and was created by a Wisconsin Urban Wood member, and it serves to be a wonderful example of urban wood utilization. And to me, it validates our mission. And this is beauty and function from otherwise wasted trees. And this, pardon me, I'm having a little bit of difficulty navigating here. And this Wisconsin Urban Wood neighbor designs, fabricates, and installs commercial spaces as well as creates fine furniture exclusively in urban wood. And this reception desk is an example of their exceptional work, all in Wisconsin Urban Wood. And it's important to note that this company, as of many of our Wisconsin Urban Wood businesses, including mine, are founded on urban wood. A Milwaukee-based hardwood flooring company is proud to say they offer a line of Wisconsin urban wood flooring. It's manufactured locally using locally sourced Wisconsin urban wood, and it's homegrown all around. I do have prettier photos of flooring, but I like this one. It demonstrates people at work. It demonstrates that this urban wood is creating jobs. And Wisconsin urban wood is being specified in more and more significant projects. We have suppliers like myself who can source lumber at a more larger volume and is focused on getting it into more and more commercial projects. And this was a delivery of Wisconsin urban wood to the new Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, which is where our Milwaukee Bucks will be now playing. Let me back up one here. So we have identified this urban wood movement here in Wisconsin and beyond. We have identified all of this wood. We have defragmented the urban wood supply chain and linked it together. This resource comes packed with environmental, economic, and social benefits while filling all or most of the same needs as traditional hardwood lumber. But to realize the potential, to change processes, to change attitudes related to sustainably sourced materials, those who design and build play an important role. As a founding member of the association Wisconsin Urban Wood, I am also an exclusive supplier of the product Wisconsin Urban Wood. And this photo represents a familiar setting to me. The bulk of my time is spent reaching out to design professionals. I introduce what is virtually a new product. I explain that nature is in charge of my inventory. You may have noted that we do not harvest trees. And I introduce a grade and availability, a timeline, and sourcing process that may not be familiar to them. I also spend a great deal of time marketing to developers and Wisconsin-based businesses and business owners. A prominent developer proclaiming their investment in building a stronger Milwaukee, for example, should, in my opinion, be well informed on the opportunities and benefits of utilizing urban wood in their projects. I encourage local businesses to adopt urban wood into their corporate culture, just as they would any program or product into their sustainability plan. I explain in so many words that this should be important to them. Wisconsin Urban Wood responded to better inform those with influence over materials options, and with support from a Wisconsin DNR Urban Forestry grant, Wisconsin Urban Wood created the first urban wood specification. Again, you'll hear me say this a lot, urban wood competes in a well-established and highly standardized market. So it was important to develop the language in a familiar format necessary for urban wood to be confidently and easily specified. Samples, real or virtual, are an important part of our message, an important part of my process. Urban wood, at least for most Wisconsin urban wood members, is not graded traditionally. Again, we don't harvest wood, but rather process what nature gives us to the highest use. So these images demonstrate a typical grade of urban wood. And this grade does compare to NHLA's mill run, or number 3B common and better. Put simply, if we only pulled the pretty boards from these non-traditional urban logs, there would not be an urban wood industry. We maximize the yield of the log, and my orders contain sound, kiln-dried boards that may contain all of these grades. Therefore, it is important to align owner, architect, project manager, and installer in the entire process. All must be informed and aligned. The inherent beauty of working with urban wood is in the story of where it grew, why it was removed, and now how it is being put to its highest use. It's why most people want sustainably sourced and locally grown materials. So if at times, when an urban wood species requested by an interior designer or architect is unavailable, there may be an abundant amount of another species that could be stained to match. That's the reality of urban wood, and that's the reality of sustainable sourcing. And General Finishes of East Troy, Wisconsin, of where this picture was taken, helped us tell that story. And again, it's good to pair, for me, for Wisconsin Urban Wood, I love to pair my products with other local companies and truly support both of our stories. So right now, we don't really pay attention to the type of wood we're using in our projects. And we need to, because again, nature plays a part in our inventory. Working with and sourcing urban wood can require a different process. And although this supplier's location we see here in this photo, this is a Wisconsin Urban Wood member, a producer and retailer of lumber, although this looks pretty familiar and they have a commercial shop available to them, you might be meeting a supplier of wood or a maker of wood at a location that looks like this. This is one of our members who operates this business, and my point is that it isn't always a click and point process. The 21st century has become very fast, very immediate, very demanding, and urban wood doesn't always fit, at least right now, into that setting. So interior designers might be visiting and know the maker and handler of the wood to make in the process of getting products created. So this is also a very familiar setting. It's a little bit more intimate and close and local process. And sometimes that doesn't fit into the fast-paced world. So as part of so now Wisconsin Urban Wood has captured and developed and a lot of processes and tools to share with architects and have kind of cleaned up our messaging and our description of urban wood. And now that we have compiled all that, we've realized that we need to focus on those that will also be handling and installing this. So as part of a 2016 U.S. Forest Service grant project, I spent a great deal of time calling on design professionals on this topic. And interestingly, the next slide shows a few of the actual comments I received. I'm sorry, guys. These are actual comments that were shared with me during my process that I took note of. The new construction process is horribly broken. Construction managers often feel they cannot manage a product that is not as standardized as they are used to. The fundamental skills of working with wood are diminishing. Sustainable sourcing is often perceived as a burden to a project. And my favorite, is that a knot in that board? So I'm mostly confirmed in this project that no one likes change. The next thing I confirmed was the need, again, to align all project players from architect to installer, because if this gentleman is surprised at what he sees at this stage, And if this gentleman is surprised at what he sees at this stage, everything will go south. So the person installing, that's pretty wild grain. That's all ash, Wisconsin urban wood ash. And installers are used to, pretty straight grained material, and urban wood is something new to them. They're not always used to it. So there needs to be a good alignment so that everyone can have the shared vision. So if recovered and repurposed, wood from our countries, from the United States, urban and community forest, if recovered, could produce nearly 4 billion, with a B, board feet of lumber each year. To put that into perspective, that's enough lumber to produce flooring for around 1 million homes every year. And truth is, we don't have to use this wood, but shouldn't we? It's as simple as that with me. So how do we use this resource? The next slide I'm going to show you contains 3 steps that you may feel are pretty simple and obvious, but you'd be surprised at what I've experienced in the field. So to utilize this urban wood from design to application, be prepared. Understand availability, timing, grade, and align all project players. Availability is important. Here in the Milwaukee region, for example, I know pretty sure that typically we will always have ash, elm, and maple available. If another species is desired by a customer, we may know that we will have it from data, from experience, that it will be coming in. So the product doesn't always exist on a shelf, but it will. Many times, and in the most ideal scenario for me, is to have a just-in-time inventory. I call it my just-in-time from the log inventory. It would talk about saving resources. Imagine milling a log and drying it within the time of when it needs to be at a project. And again, the grade. The greatest realization I've had in this industry after nearly 20 years is that I'm not in control. That is significant. We cannot guarantee a grade. If we are, we're in the wrong business. Again, this is like a deconstructed building. We don't know what we're going to get, but we're going to make that product available. In the urban wood industry, we don't necessarily know what we're going to get, but we're going to maximize and utilize and encourage those to use what we do get. Step 2. Step 2, for the purposes of this presentation, list Wisconsin urban wood in the design specification. In your state, there may be another designated name, but for this example, list that specification. The specification is there to help the architect, the general contractor, the installer get information about what this product is. And by listing that brand or that brand that you're confident in, ensures that the wood truly does follow standards. Number 3, a word that nobody likes, including myself, is be flexible. Don't get tied to species. You're going to hear me say it again. Nature is in control of our inventory. So Wisconsin Urban Wood is supporting those 3 steps by presenting the first Wisconsin Urban Wood Utilization Award, which was presented in June this year and is where I met Brett. This award recognizes projects that demonstrate outstanding achievement in design, specification, and application of Wisconsin urban wood. So we chose a project that followed those 3 steps. And here's a photo of the winners of this award. And now I didn't include this photo to show off my new sports jacket. That's me with the white hair. But the photo is very significant to me. It was a tremendous achievement, not for myself, but for our industry. And it's significant because on the far right is the interior designer who contacted me and started her process to learn about urban wood and the characteristics of sourcing and designing it with it long before ground was ever broken. Beside her is the project, the owner's representative. And on the other side of myself is the construction manager. And all four of us became very close because we communicated. Again, the construction manager was not necessarily informed on urban wood until this project, and he had to be to know to set schedules, to know what kind of grade and character to show up. And this process, the product showed up like any other product as a result, and it was a very successful project. And here's the building where urban wood was utilized. These are luxury apartments right along Milwaukee's riverfront, and Wisconsin Urban Wood is working very hard to make this an annual award event. And on a project the size of Pfizer Forum, in this photo, whoops, I'm using a stylus here, maybe that's the problem. Make it back one photo. On a project the size of Pfizer Forum, seen here in the background, that interconnectivity is a little bit more challenging to achieve. And I took this picture because it too was significant to me personally and for Wisconsin Urban Wood and for our industry, that I was bringing samples that would be applied one day in the building behind me. And interestingly, when I found this photo, I zoomed in on the note I see up on the board here, and it said, contact me about grade and timing. Those were the most important words that I wanted that person to know. And I was never contacted, but the project went forward nonetheless. And to address this topic further, Wisconsin Urban Wood has reached out to the next generation of design and building professional, and we encouraged the Milwaukee School of Engineering to incorporate the topic of urban wood into one of their courses. And they did so. Students of the Sustainable Design and Construction course heard a couple of presentations about urban wood, and they developed a sales sheet, a product data sheet for urban wood. Well, we went on to share this experience and opportunity with the Wisconsin Urban Forestry Council, of which I serve, and we developed a letter in support of the topic of urban wood being incorporated in schools with design and construction programs, and this is moving forward positively at this time. And every tree truly does have a story, and Wisconsin Urban Wood is concerned about how that story ends. So to maybe get some motivation here, let's see some urban wood in action. These are this next photo is this is the Pfizer Forum where the Milwaukee Bucks play. Wisconsin Urban Wood white oak was used throughout. And interestingly, white oak was chosen, well, for a lot of reasons, but it also has a natural and very high fire rating. White oak is not necessarily a prominent wood coming out of the urban forest, but we were able to supply, I think it was around some 20,000 board feet to create the products here. So it was used in these ceiling applications, just some high-end, some high visibility areas. They really embraced it. And many of the concession stand fronts are have urban wood on them, as we see here. And this is also at the Pfizer Forum. This is obviously an in-process application of the wood, but these are 3.5-inch square random thickness wood tiles. And the reason I included it here is that not only is this wood urban and defined as Wisconsin urban wood, but it is an offcut of another manufacturing process. And the mill that I work with exclusively also produces mantles. And so I worked, well, off and on for over a year to help the interior designers of this arena kind of determine what would be the best product and method. So these are cut from 2, 3, 4 foot long offcuts of mantle stock in urban in about 4 or 5 different wood species. It's a beautiful application. I did not have a finished one. And I took this photo when I was on a tour here because this is a concession front at the arena. And it shows some of the things that I have to make sure designers and installers know about. Not every project might be suitable to have the sapwood showing in this white oak, for example, or the knots. But in this particular design, they embraced it and utilized it. So this is a pretty important picture for me to share with you. This is an interior shot of the project that won the Wisconsin Urban Wood Utilization Award. And one area they used it was each unit. There's 270 or so units. Each unit had two solid wood shelves that we see there in the very back of the picture. That may not seem like a big deal, but it was a pretty big deal. Solid wood shelves on some pretty fancy hardware to have them float in that space. It was a pretty cool application, and they used it throughout the complex in more public areas or more common areas. So here we see it used throughout this building, except for the cabinets in the back, of course. And this is in their, pardon me, going backwards. This is in their foyer or their entryway. This is another project that one of my customers that I supply created. Wood always adds a little something of warmth and interest to the built environment. Conference table. This was created by using 16-foot plus long slabs. These are all brother and sister boards off the same log. And of course, they made it easy by having us build it around this column. But it's a story. It's a beautiful story nonetheless. This is a Milwaukee office. The trees were sourced and came from the Milwaukee region. They traveled to a regional sawmill. They traveled to another location to be fabricated into this table. And then interestingly, we craned it through used a crane to bring it through the windows we see in the background. And this part of the story never gets old to me. That the wood returned right back to the city where it once grew and will live on for some time. That is the story of urban wood. Here's another application. This is at a college dormitory. Just thought it was a neat picture. Here's a conference room table. Whoop. And this was this project's about 10 years old. This was my first notable job. This was a building that I had read about that was going to try to achieve living building certification. And this was back in the days where I just called up the developer and they had never heard of urban wood. And as a result, they redesigned this 5-story stairwell, which was basically going to be purely functional, concrete and steel and hidden behind a block wall. They redesigned the building to make it open, to truly celebrate this urban wood. And it's still there today. And that banner down the middle is also 5 stories and is absolutely beautiful. I'm trying to advance here, guys. This is I think this was last year. This is all elm, and this is in I believe, an orthodontist office in Milwaukee. And this is the first thing everyone sees when they walk in. Below that is their reception area. And it was just a really cool application of elm, and they really honored this material and they put it up front, and the process went very well. And I included this photo. This is the conference table. It looks like it's either elm or maple, but in the background is a credenza, and this was designed and specified and called out for by an interior designer. And I wanted to point out that, kind of going back to that process, that interior designer, again, it isn't always point and click. They embrace the story of urban wood and using local resources, and they had to perhaps get out of the 21st century for a little bit for now, and go know that maker and meet that maker and communicate with that maker. And as a result, we have a functional and beautiful and normal looking piece of furniture as a result. This is UW Milwaukee's Children's Learning Center. This was probably my largest project to date, where ash was embraced and utilized throughout in a series of half walls like this. They used it for all of their stair parts, and it was this application where I realized the finish carpenters, they didn't like me very well. They weren't used to seeing this wild looking wood, and you can see that some of the stretchers and whatnot, they had a lot of questions about, is this what the owners really want, you know? And they didn't have a lot of good things to say about Wisconsin or about this urban wood product, but man, in the end, it is absolutely beautiful. And even some of the stair parts, as we see here, those were manufactured right here in good old Milwaukee, using this local resource. And this is also at that project, and it's also a favorite picture. That is ash used. It was intentionally and thoughtfully specified and called out to be the door jambs on a bunch of door jambs like this. And I just love seeing urban wood used in a normal process as well. I've always said, you know, it's very easy to glorify this beautiful wood and these live edge slabs and things, but we have an abundance of wood that can be used in applications just like this. And here's a better picture of that flooring. This is elm flooring in a residence. It is absolutely beautiful. This is ash, kind of an in-process shot of ash being installed in a coffee shop here in the Milwaukee region. This might be a familiar form to some of you in commercial office furniture. It seems like I've always seen this shape in some kind of orange laminate or some kind of covering other than wood. And here it's done in solid wood, and it certainly fits the space. And I'd like to think that that owner embraced the idea. Their employees now know the story of this table, and perhaps it helps everybody feel better and maybe work a little bit more productively as a result of utilizing urban wood here. That might be a stretch to some of you, but I believe in stuff like that. This restaurant. Now, I apologize, you can't see the tables here, but each table here has a solid wood ash top. And at least to me, this is a beautiful restaurant, a beautiful establishment. It looks happy and classy. But they embrace the full organic many faces of ash in the tables, and if you were able to look closely like I can, you see heart and sapwood and character and wild grain and some sound knots incorporated in this tabletop. And I just love this. I just love the impact of that look. Another splash of wood used in an otherwise concrete jungle. I think that's always a thoughtfulness. And another functional piece also used in an otherwise concrete space. And this project on this door, they surely embraced the glory of urban wood here, and to me it works. This is also, I have a lot of favorite pictures. This has also become a favorite picture. This is obviously walnut, but it really works here. And you can understand that those manufacturing this had to know that this was acceptable during that process. And this is not my last photo, but this is the last photo of the process. And I like to always kind of stop here because this is a beautiful penthouse apartment in Milwaukee, and there's a lot of wood. There's a lot of wood everywhere. And the interior designer of this project called out a live edge mantle that's not visible in this photo. And I was fortunate enough to be able to produce and supply this mantle. And because it was kind of a white glove project, I went there personally to do the installation, just to make certain everything went just so. And as I was finishing, a group of interior designers from an ASID group had stopped by to take a tour of this beautiful unit. And One that recognized me looked all around the space and asked me with great enthusiasm, "Is all of this urban wood?" Well, I said it certainly could have been. And that's where we are. This Wisconsin Urban Wood Network and brand is ready to respond, and other states are joining on. And this network, this unity, these standards are what differentiates our members and their products. And being a member of Wisconsin Urban Wood enables me and all network members to play a part in securing a healthy future for our urban forest. This is why we do what we do. When someone buys a product with the Wisconsin Urban Wood label, they are a part of a virtuous circle that is helping to protect the productivity and health of our urban forests and the livelihoods that depend on them. As more and more consumers and design professionals and manufacturers and so on choose urban wood, more arborists and municipalities and sawmills and suppliers and manufacturers will be encouraged to join, support, and use urban wood. And this is where real and lasting change can be delivered. And this is when attitudes and processes and culture change. So as supplies of urban wood continue to grow, market awareness, demand, and commitments to sustainable sourcing from owners, architects, and builders will also increase, and this will ultimately lead to full circle urban forest management becoming the norm across borders and across the nation. And it's already happening. You might see a familiar state here. With support from a U.S. Forest Service grant, a four-state partnership was formed between Illinois, Michigan, Missouri, and Wisconsin. And we worked together to build a common understanding, language, commitment, and eventually a brand for the urban wood marketplace. And we formed the Urban Wood Network. Amongst other things, one of our deliverables was to form this network and to create a website. The Association of Wisconsin Urban Wood, for example, is now also a member of the Urban Wood Network, and this is leading to greater awareness through shared branding, mission, nomenclature, building standards that are shared across borders. And soon after we launched our website, and you can see the members down here below. Soon after we launched our website, urbanwoodnetwork.org, we received interest and inquiries from across the country. And we currently now have 144 members representing 21 states, plus Canada and Switzerland. And we are working closer with similar efforts in California and out east. So I encourage you to pay attention to the type of wood you're using. The benefits of using urban wood continue beyond those of the application. And I think I've taken a lot of time here, but I think now we have some time for some questions.
Hey, yeah, thanks a lot, Dwayne. We definitely got a lot of time here for some questions. And before we get to those, two things real quick. We do need to go over a discussion on the lead items. So let's jump into that here. I'm going to pull open my screen. So Dwayne, maybe you can just confirm if you can see it. Yep. All right. So for those of you on the line real quick, you can go to usgbc.org/credits, and that's where you can find everything you ever want to know and conversations and discussions on all credits lead related. In this particular instance, we're going to be talking about homes, and we're going to be talking about V4 for this one. So if you drop that down, you'll see a bunch of credits, and we're going to be looking at materials and resources. So this is the materials and resource section here. If you click there, it gives you all the details here. And before I jump into this, one of the things is that if you're specifying tropical wood, it has to be FSC certified. And so one of the already inherent benefits of utilizing your urban wood sources as opposed to tropical wood is that you don't need to mess around with this prerequisite. You'll automatically meet it by avoiding all tropical wood and using urban wood sources. So it's just a real easy win and less thought you have to put into anything if you just spec urban wood, and that's just, an easy win there. So what we're going to be talking about is environmentally preferable products right here, real quick, and then construction waste management. And so the simplest one is environmentally preferable products. And you can read through that, but the first option is local production. And local used to mean 500 miles back under the old version of LEED. Since then, they have shrunk that down to 100 miles. And I don't know exactly all their reasoning behind that, but I will tell you studies that show by a group here in Grand Rapids called Local First, they studied sourcing local materials and working with local businesses that, you really got to be working with sort of your hyper-local business to keep money flowing in the local economy. And so 500 miles really is way beyond the local economy. Even 100 might be stretching it. So that's one thing to consider if you're upset about the 500-mile radius being reduced. Think about it this way. You're boosting your local economy and keeping dollars flowing. So think of it that way. But anyway, so, potentially framing, you're looking at wood, and interior sheathing, obviously you could be looking at wood there. So again, if you're sourcing urban wood and your project is within 100 miles of that urban wood epicenter, you can certainly grab some easy local points right there, especially if you're building within the cities that there is a program. That's an easy win. The second thing to look at is right here, a product that contains at least 25% reclaimed materials, including salvage, refurbished, reused. And you'll see right here, it's called right out, felled, diseased, dead trees, or trees otherwise removed from urban or suburban areas, orchard trees that are unproductive, cut for replacement. So these right here, it's urban wood. What we're talking about today is written right into the LEED for Homes standard. So single family, multifamily, mid-rise, anything with residential and mixed use. Urban wood is written right into the standard now. So again, if you're speccing that wood, you're going to be getting rewarded in that MR section for environmentally preferable products. And again, these don't need to become from 100 miles. This could be coming. You could have your project in California and spec Wisconsin urban wood and still score the points for this portion of it. But if you want to be local, then you'd want to do that one. So, so here's just some of the different items: floor base, floor coverings. There actually, believe it or not, there is a such thing as wood insulation. That we're going to be doing a session on that hopefully next year, and I guess it works, but not going to get into that right now. Sheathing, framing, interior finishes, roofing, siding can be wood. And then in additional components of these smaller components, doors, cabinets, counters, trim, decking, patio, you name it. So lots of different things that can be made out of urban wood. You can score different material credits for that within the LEED for Homes rating system. Dwayne, I don't know if you had any other quick thoughts to add before we jump to the next credit.
No, I'll just say that I get a lot of inquiries for siding. And there are some here in at least in the Milwaukee area. I'm sure some of us may have heard of honey locust. It is not related to black locust, but honey locust also is naturally rot resistant. There's processes for thermally modified wood. It's a kiln process that makes steam wood basically rot resistant for siding. But I was going to mention that rarely is my product used for structural. So this is usually for finished materials for the interior.
Okay.
But we have used it structurally in the past. Or sold it to the structural.
Well, that's good to point out. So thank you for clarifying that. And then on the other side of things is construction waste management. So again, if you are renovating, rebuilding, or building on an urban lot that has trees on it that need to go, there might be some benefits here. So LEED for Homes has updated it's waste management, and it's a pretty in-depth calculation that's based on a site-by-site basis. So in the past, it used to just be about how much waste you diverted. Now it's based on a site. So for example, if the home is a lot smaller and has more bedrooms, then your diversion waste targets actually have to be a lot less. So as the home gets bigger, then your diversion targets get a lot bigger. And so we're not going to get into all that today because it's a pretty convoluted and complex calculation. But what's important to point out here is all of these different items, volume to weight conversions, where you might generate waste. And so you can see here that tree limbs, stumps, trees in general are all going to be a portion of your waste on the site if you've got trees that you want to remove. And so what I'm getting at is if you can divert that to an urban wood program, then you can count that as an offset as long as you can document that. And so, Dwayne, you and I were talking a little bit about before the session about that idea, but maybe you could just reiterate that again.
Sure. Many times a developer will contact us for example, there was a grocery store being built in the Milwaukee area, and it was a grocery store that had kind of a cooperative theme and very much so supported local. But sadly, they had to remove about 80 specimen trees from this site, and they were up in arms. And we very efficiently were able to employ the container system on that site and get those trees to a higher use, and everyone was happy. It did maintain perhaps a little bit more cost to them. However, we now have a specification for that in place, that this is an option, and we're trying to make that easier with other organizations. So it's really the easiest part of the whole process. It's just having the right equipment to capture and do that, and the right connections.
All right. Well, thanks, Dwayne. So yeah, we've got some time for questions. I see some questions coming in, and before we get to those, huge thanks to all of our members, our volunteers, our board of directors. Thanks to all of you for attending. And a huge thanks to our top tier sponsor, Shrinergy, for both in your home, in your office, or on the go in the woods, solar-powered backup generators for electricity. T-Studs, the world's most energy-efficient wall stud assembly. And Mitsubishi, check them out for all your all-electric heat pump super efficient systems for single-family, commercial, multifamily, to help you get to net zero. And thanks to all of our sponsors. So the first question that came for us here, Dwayne, is how big of a region does Wisconsin Urban Wood pull trees from? Is it all urban, or do you pull from suburban areas, particularly those instances where new developments clear large chunks of land?
Yeah, it's a good question because the term urban wood is a little misleading. The term urban wood became kind of officially branded over the last 25 or 30 years, and it's stuck. At least in my circles, urban wood is very definitive to us, but to those new to it, urban wood may seem that it only comes from urban areas, which is why, if you'll remember, an hour ago, I opened with urban wood comes from trees where we live. Urban wood refers to wood from any tree that has come down and is considered for a higher use. Here in our region, one of the largest suburban areas is very rural, and so yes, indeed, we do pull from large scale removals from urban or otherwise. And but Milwaukee and other municipalities, they have the most consistency. In other words, they know Milwaukee. They know they may remove around 4,000 trees a year, and that'll of course come up and down. So that's important for us to know too. So that's a good question. I hope I answered it.
In the case of the grocery store, are you able to ensure that the wood removed from the site returns to that site?
No, and it's of no cost to us. The owner pays that. It's a, we all set our trash out. We set our trash out here on Monday and it magically disappears, but we're ultimately paying for somebody to take that. This site did not want those trees. There was great cost, perhaps. There was great orchestration on their part to what do we do with these. So we came in and provided basically a service by orchestrating these containers. And I don't want to, and they, I'll use the word donated. They donated those trees basically to this sawmill, who not only would get them out of the, remove them from the site, but they liked the idea that we were then going to return that wood back to the same community, not necessarily that project. However, on other occasions, we have used the trees from a site that got returned back to that building as products where the trees once grew.
So the question is, the next one, is there a resource list available to different areas of the country? And in this case, they're just expressing the difficulty of finding anything like this in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Yes, there are, and there is an effort similar to Wisconsin Urban Wood going on right now in the Sacramento area, somewhere out in that region, and I'd like to get that information to Brett at the close of this, so perhaps he could make that available to you. But that's the beauty of this Urban Wood Network. You can find a lot of resources there for states, I believe, east of the Rockies and all the way to the East Coast. You'll find Nebraska, New Mexico, Texas, but California, I can get some information to Brett and help you along the way, or certainly contact me directly. I'd be happy to get that information to you.
Dwayne, you mentioned the city of Milwaukee was saving 50% by using the container system. What specifically were the savings due to?
I would say ultimately handling, as well as what they were being charged for another company to haul it off. The tonnage, the cost per tonnage, but it is significant. When the trees have been marked, well, number one, Milwaukee is one of the top 10 urban forests in the country. It's very well managed. And when it's time to mark trees for removal, that's done very efficiently. But what they do is they top those trees and leave the stump standing. That's very efficient. Then the right crews with the right equipment come back and remove that log and load it into the containers. You saw that they had the right equipment to do so. It's just efficiencies and a lot of time in handling and bucking logs in short chunks. That's really what it comes down to. And it was cheaper for them to pay to have it delivered to this sawmill rather than what they were paying to the other waste management company. And Milwaukee doesn't use the waste management term anymore. They call it resource management. And that's a beautiful term.
So is there any connection or tie into Forest Stewardship Council, FSC, or SFI, Sustainable Forestry Initiative, with Urban Wood, or is it just totally irrelated to those certifications?
Well, in the year 2014, the topic of Urban Wood made it to an FSC meeting in Spain or somewhere thereabouts. And it was determined at that time that because there's not one forest that's being managed, that it was difficult to give that certification. Now, I'm not going to open up the topic right now. There is a certification topic and discussion that's very real that's happening right now. That was kind of born in the Minneapolis area. But I'd like to think that we're headed that way someday. I think it's inevitable. But right now, we're still working on defining this industry. And we truthfully we haven't been asked for certification. The certification is not what's selling wood. So as a business owner, I will have to ask the question, will it help us sell this wood? Will it help it get utilized? Will certification build that confidence to for our buyers, and that question's unknown right now. But I think there's good planning for when that day does come.
So obviously, one of the drawbacks to wood with regards to indoor air quality is formaldehyde, and you know, programs like LEED or Enterprise are looking for you to utilize California Phase 2 certified wood, or you know, sealing the edges, like in cabinets, exposed edges with a low VOC substance sealant to make sure that the formaldehyde gets trapped in. In what ways would you say formaldehyde issues might be addressed or not being addressed?
Well, I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. Wouldn't that apply to more manufactured products other than solid wood? I may not be.
Yeah, and it might just be that that it might not be an issue. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so, but I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. I mean, this is solid wood, and any finish put on it is controlled by others. And I would like to think if they're going to the effort to utilize urban wood in a project, they're not going to put something harmful on it. That would be my guess. And I apologize that I can't answer that.
Oh, no, that's okay. Well, Dwayne, we're over our time here. I don't see any other questions. So can you just real quick let everybody know where they can contact you to learn a little bit more if they want to, or if they want to, you know, maybe start their own portion of the network in their own state?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, the easiest and I believe more honorable way to direct you to information is for you to go to urbanwoodnetwork.org, and there you will find more about the networks in Michigan and in Wisconsin and in Illinois. And you can certainly find Wisconsin Urban Wood there as well as myself. But my contact information is below the Urban Wood Network sign there. And certainly email me or certainly call me. I'm old enough to still like to pick up the phone and talk to people on the phone. Give me a call with any other questions you have. The unique thing about all of us here with Wisconsin Urban Wood and the Urban Wood Network, you know, I remain as much advocate. We're very outward thinking here, and we are all stronger together. So we'd like to help make Michigan strong and Illinois strong and all the other states strong because it only strengthens the brand. So that's it. Contact information is right there on the screen.
All right. Well, Dwayne, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks to the Woodward Urban Forest Products. Have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.
Thank you all.